Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we have two very special guests joining us again. They've become good friends of ours, reoccurring guests and friends. We got a chance to finally meet them in person recently. We have, I'm sorry, would y'all like to introduce yourselves?
Yes, of course.
She points to me. So we are Herman and Dee of H&D Abroad. We are content creators, at least that's what they tell us.
Yeah.
We've been well, we've been on channel for a little over 2 years. Wow, time's flying. And we started our channel because we began a conversation about the possibility of moving abroad, and we were struggling to find couples who were having this conversation. And we found like one or two people here, and we said, what the heck? Let's jump in. So we jumped in with sharing our ongoing experience. So the process, what were we doing? What did it look like? And it has evolved into what we call a community engagement kind of thing, because contacts with like meeting with you guys, interviewing you all, has built on what our experience has been as we are coming closer to finalizing our when and where. And it has been a dynamic experience. And so we learn and
We share.
and sometimes we share a lot.
Sometimes we share too much.
Yeah.
Hey,
That's right.
Ma'am.
It's all right.
it'll be all right.
Well, on this journey that we've been on for the last going on 3 years now, we understand that it's a difficult process to begin to see through and to make happen. So the first thing we wanted to ask y'all is, how is the process going?
I started this one on you.
Okay, so I would have to say it's different. We've lived in the same state all of our marriage, majority of our marriage. We've never made a huge move. The farthest move we ever made was 90 minutes from 90 miles from where we started. So we've not had huge transitions in our lives past college. And so the move abroad process isn't just about the logistics. It is a multi-pronged process. You're moving to accepting that we're moving to a different culture, and the reasons moving out of the country are vastly different that we would anticipate than if we were moving to a different place in the U.S. There's similarities in culture and language and what is available that is familiar, and moving abroad is opening yourself up to more of a diversified experience. So we probably could have moved. We probably could have picked a place and just said, "Hey, we're going to move there." If some of the key things that would cause peace to my journey, which is what I talk about a lot on the channel, is we're wanting to do this at a pace and making the decisions based on peace and not expectations of what people might want from us. And so or fear, the desire to move and move quickly. So I think this process, this move process, we put a lot of intention. A big example, the city we live in now, we've been here just over 8 years. I interviewed for the job at the right after 4th of July,
Mhm.
and we moved here at the beginning of August. And so that was quick, fast, even though it was a short distance. I said, no way for this process. I wanted it to be different. But also, it was a dream. And so, you know, if you have not shared fully your heart
Mhm.
in a way that says, hey, to your partner, can you help my dream come true? That was a big, this was the second big make my dream come true in our marriage, and which requires trust in your partner. And this process has proved within our marriage that we can do a lot of new things together.
Yeah, so it's pushed some things, relationship wise, goal wise,
As parents,
uh,
as
as
the
parents and as children.
oldest
It's
children, yeah, to
there are so
our
many more
parents.
aspects to it, and so it's taken on a life and a concept we did not expect. Luckily, we have the support of so many people who say, keep grounded, stand still, keep grounded," and that's helped, because bailing out, probably without the support that we've had, there's been some times it's just been like, oh, screw it, let's just
Yeah,
we'll
this
get back.
is
Yeah,
too
this
many
is too
changes,
much.
too
Yeah,
many decisions that need to be made.
and so we are it being it's a continually learning process, a continually growing process, and so we are probably closer to the woo than we were, 6 months
6 months
ago.
ago, yeah,
Hell, 3 months ago.
agree.
But it's an ever growing process. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so do either of you feel you would have a difficult time moving away from your family and your kids? Do you feel the emotions
Okay,
growing?
I think I know the answer to that question.
so I'm gonna give the father answer first, the father and son answer. So as a son, my father is very independent. Just, I mean, he's in he's in Seattle. I called him thinking he was home. He's in Seattle, and so I was like, okay. And he lives in Central Florida, so
Right.
he's nowhere near home. And he just turned 78 last week. So he's doing his thing. That's the way it's going to be. There's always a concern. Will he tell me if things are not going well for him?
Right.
I assume he's straightforward enough to tell me. When, where, I don't know. But, he's grown, as they say, and I give him the space to make that decision. As a sibling, as an uncle, that's another aspect, because our nieces and nephew are all very young compared to our children who are in their 20s. So there's a little bit of that loss, but they don't live where we live. And so, we're not a part of their dynamic. They see us online. That's how they know us is online. So there's that.
Okay.
As parents, that's probably the biggest direct challenge. And not so much can they survive without us, is that we recognize at this phase in their lives, there's a challenge of them being alone, so to speak. They're in their mid to early 20s. And so they're at three completely different developmental places. They're doing three developmentally different things, for better or for worse. And so there's a contact issue. Yes, I can pick up the phone, but there are times when I need to say, I need you to stand right here in front of me, look directly in my face, and let's have this conversation.
And give me a direct
Yeah.
answer.
And
Let's talk about
and
this.
and I know even though it was 20 plus years ago, I remember 20 easy. And I remember how easily it was to say, I don't have to answer that because I'm not next to you. I don't have to deal with that because I'm not around you. And so there's a bit of the anxiety of that. I'm also personally, because two of them are boys, I'm personally not really excited about the look of this country.
Mhm.
And so having them outside of my, I can stop what I'm doing and go over there and help them space, there is that. Having said that, they, just like my father, are adults.
You're grown.
And if they were away at college, they'd be over there 4 or 5 hours away from wherever I am. So I'll be 4, 5, 6 hours away from wherever they are.
Mhm.
And I can make the decision to make the adjustment. I know I even if they aren't talking to me regularly, I know that I can trust that they will come to me and say, the stuff has hit the fan. They're going to do at least that. It may be a little late to have dealt with it, but hey, here's where it is. I'm calling. It's crappy. And then I can move. That's the father in me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll kind of add just a little bit to that. My mother is 4 years widowed. Daddy will be 2 years widowed this year. And what we've decided with parents, siblings, and children is talk more.
Mm-hmm.
Just talk more. The concern about, do we lose contact? What does the relationship evolve to? We set the precedent for desiring to stay connected while we're still here. And the same for our young adults, is that I have to trust, if you say you're good, that you're good. I have to trust that you have a history of knowing, even if it's not a recent memory. I know that there are things that I exposed you to, and that I trust that the training and experience, the community of support that is around you is responsive, and that when you say I need, that mom and dad have a plan to be there. And so a lot of this is trusting our relationships with family members in a new way. There's a lot we have to accept as a part of that relationship, but also that regardless of if I were not here, would happen anyway. And so I will be where I need to be and do my best to be there when it is needed.
Mm-hmm.
And that maintaining relationships happens on both sides. We establishing that commitment is what we're doing before we leave.
Outside of that dynamic, maybe my grandmother,
Yeah.
because she's 95, about to be 96. I take into consideration her. Probably nobody else in general. That doesn't mean I don't have contact information with my aunts and cousins and I mean, friends are friends. I see you when I see you. I mean, I don't take those kinds of things deeply into my decision making, concept, because they can't do it for me. They can't pay for it for me. They can't, so it just, those factors just add, I don't want to say stress, but they add more dynamics to this decision making than is necessary.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't even utilize them.
We have been strategic in friction points.
Yeah. Even if people are aware of what we're doing, it's not a, here, let me run this by you. I don't do that. I just, because whatever we're going to do, it's going to happen here. Yeah, it's going to happen here. And even with the kids and our parents, we've decided, we have a conversation with them, we share. We ask them for their thoughts, their feelings, and opinions, because I want to respect that, but not in the sense of, if they all said don't go, would I not go? It would have to be something dynamic.
Yeah.
To make that decision.
Yeah. So with the question about, missing family and, leaving your kids and everyone behind, it's difficult for us. But we had to kind of make a decision amongst ourselves, because everyone we talked about it to, we had already decided what we were going to do. We weren't like asking anyone.
We were just
Mhm.
We were just
informing them.
letting them know, like, this is what we're gonna do.
Right.
Um,
Because I'm sorry.
go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm
I would
sorry.
say you may, we understand if you don't agree, it's not really going to change the decision.
Mhm.
We can talk about it if there's a disagreement, but the decision is ours, and that's it's we have to do what's going to make us happy in our life because it's the only one we get to live.
Mhm.
Um, so be happy for us, but
Or not.
either way, it's this decision that we're gonna make.
Yeah.
I
Right.
mean, because at the end of the day, you two joined in a union
Mhm.
and you became one. And so, at the end of the day, who's going to be there? He's going to be there. She's going to be there. And hopefully, other family members too. But at the end of the day, both of you are the ones that's going on this journey and have to
Mhm.
watch out for one another and support one another. So,
Yeah, it's the couple's decision or whoever's leaving. Whether it be a single person, a couple, whatever, a family. That's the decision among them. Other people's opinions, they're welcome.
Mhm.
sometimes.
Yeah, but they don't necessarily they don't necessarily change the outcome.
Yeah.
What I what I wanted to ask is going throughout this journey and making all the considerations, and then making taking trips and stuff. Has have you had to make significant adjustments to the process, to your plan?
Oh, it
Like
changes.
kind of midstream. You know what? We got to do this instead of this.
I think that it adjusts regularly.
Right.
When we started, there was it's got to have this, it's got to look like this, it's got to do that. There are still some parameters that are in place. I think those parameters are built on what's important to us for this to feel authentic to us.
Hmm.
Where I think some before it was what are the things that are necessary to do it and to live. And there are aspects of that that still exist, but we understand the resources differently. We understand the access differently. We have had the opportunity to visit some places which, when we started this process, we hadn't been anywhere yet.
No.
So I mean, we've not had the privilege of world travel over the course of our marriage. So in this last 2.5 years, we've traveled out of the country several times. And most recently was, in the time that we spent with you guys, we made a 4 country visit. I mean, we packed it in, but it was very influential because it gave proximity information.
Yeah.
Um, and proximity changes everything you think you know. It changes it all. It's just, hey, all we got to do is this, all we got to do is that. We need to do this. If we don't have this, then we can't do that. And then you get there and go, all we got to do is this. The things that you say, all you got to do is, you're like, oh, well, I need to do that, and I need to do that, and all the things you thought you had to do all that great stuff is like, oh, I only have to do this. It flips the script on you in a lot of ways, and then there's just the dynamic of the energy of a space. I'm going to this space because it meets these,
It checks the
it checks the
boxes.
boxes. And then you get there and you go, you know.
Yeah.
And there were several places that we visited that we were like, okay, this is not even on the checklist. And after we left, we were like,
This is on the table.
let's write this down. Let's squeeze that in the middle there, because you have all these preconceived ideas about
Mhm.
everything.
Hmm.
It's like it's a blind date.
Yeah.
They can tell you about the person. You can catch a picture of the person. Whatever, and then you sit across from them. Well, however you were feeling prior to that, all that is out the window because now they're sitting here. Now you're looking at them. Now they're talking to you. Now they're telling you stuff you didn't know that it's not secondhand from all the people who tried to set you up. And now you have to make a decision, and that makes the process fluid, which can be exhilarating and frustrating.
Yeah.
which has been a consistent over the course of the whole process. And
Yeah.
once you accept that today in our life, D talked about flexibility. It requires, okay, this might be different. Deep breath. You come into each day, I don't even want to say with less expectations, but a little more open minded because you don't know what you're going to see.
Exactly.
Same, different.
Um, Probably just to say that what travel has done for me is to give. It adds the color. It adds the dimension that I feel like is needed to make a decision of this gravity.
Hmm.
I needed that. That the travel piece is bringing the
Mhm.
travel part is bringing me peace, where
Mhm.
I say, okay, this is not like I kind of haven't the whole moving sight unseen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I clearly know that would be.
that's not even our
It's
personality.
No.
not, but that would be anxiety. That would be anxiety inducing because it's like I don't know what I'm walking into. When we
Exactly.
right before before I found out we were pregnant with our last son, we had been looking at a vehicle online, utilizing an associate that we knew, and we had been looking at all the pictures. This is still in the earlier years of internet. So we looking at all these pictures about it and all this thing. And it comes through the auction. We're ready for it. We went on vacation when it was supposed to arrive in our city. And we kept trying to reach out to the young lady who was our
Contact.
contact. And she stopped making contact with us. And we were like, what's going on? Because she said it's on the way, it's here. And then we heard nothing from her. So we got back from the vacation and she said, yeah, I scrapped that. And I was like, wait, what? And she said, because she had the same information we had. And she was like, when this vehicle showed up, it was damaged. It was marked up. It was in bad shape.
Mhm.
You can see all the pictures. You can get all the information, and we could have ended up on the hook. We already had the check for the vehicle that we had gotten from the bank. So, we're standing there we are already taking the money.
The same with the same experience that you're sharing. Now she says we're going to give you access to these other vehicles for the exact same price.
Some which were worth more.
I'm not a big vehicle kind of person. I sat in the driver's seat of a
Suburban.
Suburban and was like, "This is the vehicle
And the
we
vehicle and
need."
the vehicle we had been looking at was a minivan. So you're talking
So
about two completely.
and
I'm
and
looking at small vehicles, not looking around, and she's
the
popping the
expect
wheelies, and
the expectation the expectations I had about the the driving experience,
Mhm.
the when I was sitting in the vehicle, I could see this will accommodate the 3 car seats. I mean, it's just you're putting your dream inside of the reality of an experience and
Mhm.
seeing, is it right sized?
Mhm.
Are my expectations right sized? Is the reality of my the what do you call that? How far my dollar can go, right size. I think travel gives a right size view of am I mismatched, or is this something I can move into, and then I'm not expecting perfection, but now I know versus I anticipate or I hope. And for somebody that's a planner, that is important,
Yeah.
to give me confidence to say,
Yeah. So
let's go.
there'll be no sight unseen.
Yeah. No, sir.
Yeah.
4 different countries
Mhm.
before we met. How was your experience when you went to Panama? Did you like it? Was it too hot? Was it too busy? Too much traffic?
Did you get to see enough?
So the answer to that is yes. Okay, so Panama was one of the places that, because right before Panama was Costa Rica. Panama was one
But
of
y'all,
oh,
to begin with, we were not scouting the
no,
first two countries.
like I said,
Oh, okay.
so
Yeah.
so both of those, but Costa Rica and Panama, there was no. It was just like it was a part of the because we're in the area, let's do it kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah.
And and we ended up liking both of them for several reasons.
Okay.
We visited, using that word broadly. We spent some time in one city in Panama, but we got a chance to kind of pass through Panama City, where a lot of people are on our way out the door. The city that we spent time in, we were doing
House sit.
a house sit.
I thought I was a beach person. That nailed it. Nope.
Personally, it wasn't for me. Okay.
Okay.
And now again, I come from beach cities. I grew up, Tampa, Jacksonville, Miami, Orlando. Not Orlando, but I grew up in beach areas. I'm from Florida. So I have a kind of a feeling about beach areas because they tend to be overrun by people I don't want to hang around all the time.
Right.
And so this felt like that.
Okay.
It felt like it was invading on the people who it ought to have belonged to. And not in an aggressive way. It was a small community, but it didn't.
There was a distinct for as an outsider and us them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so some of the features of the community seem to cater to that us them as well. And so we were able to confirm some things, even though we weren't scouting. When you're in this process, you look at everything through this lens. I think as you should. Also, just the proximity, to be able to move freely. Travel, I believe, will continue to be a part of the adventurous explorer part of us that have been awakened as a part of this process. And to realize that where we were house sitting in Coronado is almost 2 hours from the airport, which would make it extremely prohibitive to be there. And then just the cost of things. One of the questions that a friend of ours that lives there, she talked a lot about, is your quality of life improved? What I was able to confirm is if you know the prices and are aware of things, of the pricing of things in the States, it's going to be similar. If you're from high cost of living places like, California, New York, New Jersey, DC, these places have the appearance of being. But for those of us who live kind of in the middle of the country where things are kind of normal, I don't want to pay U.S. prices to be in a different place. But that we knew that we were able to quickly identify that because we had a checklist of things we're comparing. Could this be our place?
And that mindset, when we spent 24 hours in Panama City, and great community contact. I mean, beautiful city, a lot of stuff. And I said to myself, if these community people here weren't here, and I ran here, would I move here? It felt like Miami to me. And I love Miami. I spent my last years of high school and first years of college. That's where I'm from, Miami. And I hadn't been back to Miami in 30 years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, would I voluntarily move somewhere that it was like when we went to Puerto Vallarta, it was the same thing. I was just like, this is Miami. Yeah, no. It's just, there are aspects of that. There is something that I'm looking for that's different. So did we like it?
Love.
Yeah. But enough to say,
This our place?
Right.
Not currently.
No,
Not currently.
definitely for visiting. It just doesn't match up with, like I said, I keep getting clearer and clearer about what I need in my life. And that's a place we would love to visit again.
Oh, definitely. Would love to spend some time.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I would,
Spend a significant amount.
Yeah. We love the people in Costa Rica. We love the aura of where we were, of the area that we were in. But traffic was bumper to bumper every day, all day. Yeah. Yeah.
It sounds like Brazil. But like you said, as you get older, you narrow down things that you need that are a requirement and things you don't need. And I think that's the beauty of it. You don't need all this extra stuff anymore because you want a simpler life. You want as I say, a drama-free life. That's how I see things. I don't want drama in my life.
Don't get rid of me.
Okay. Okay. So before we go to our next question, I have a little trivia for you in honor of Black History.
You gotta keep Black history going with some people trying to ban it.
Yeah. Okay. This is a multiple choice question.
Okay.
There are 4 possible answers, or you can come up with your own. So here we go. How much bleach do you put in the dishwater?
Oh my goodness.
Stop. Okay. A, none. B, a capful. C, a half cup. D, you just kind of pour it until it feel right.
To ancestors.
I'll let you answer that.
Okay, so it depends on how many dishes I'm washing. So at a base, it's a capful. And if we had company, people I don't know, it's going to get some more.
It depends on me if I'm washing dishes at my house or washing dishes at my restaurant.
Right.
So I'll let you get the final answer, and then I'll tell you what my
Yeah, like I said, I think I'd say a safe answer is a capful.
Okay, that is an acceptable answer.
That is the answer.
That is an acceptable answer. Because I'm heavy-handed.
He is very heavy-handed. He goes through, what is it, like a liter of Clorox made within 2 weeks.
No, it's at least 3 or 4. It's at least 3 or 4 weeks. It's at least 3 or 4 weeks.
It's not. Because I was like, what are you doing? He's just going in.
First of all, I wash dishes every day. I wash dishes like twice a day.
And I'm like, you're only supposed to use a cap. And this is how we get. How we get. Because he's heavy-handed on everything. Everything.
But hey, look.
That's how many you use to lifting all the weights. He can't feel nothing no more.
The bleach after dishes dry faster.
See, okay.
That's true.
They do.
So I've said to you before, clearly I'm not black enough. Because nobody was pouring bleach in water in my house ever.
No.
Never happened in my house. Never happened in my house.
Never happened.
And there were always cookies in the cookie tin. So I don't know what y'all was talking about. There was no so that's why I answered that question in the last game, because there were cookies in the cookie tin. But when I I had people who kept stuff too much. We had to throw stuff out. But in my cafeteria, I buy kitchen level dish bleach, and we pour it on and we go ancestor thick, because it's not just people in the house drinking it. You got
over 1,000 kids.
I want it to be. What was the old commercial with the dishes, the sparkle, the Cascade? Yeah, I need them Cascade.
Cascade clean.
I need them Cascade bright.
Yeah, we never used. My mom never used bleach in her water, and if I did, she was going off, because bleach was for her white clothes.
There you go. There you go.
Clorox, not bleach. Clorox.
Clorox. Oh, yes.
There was no cheap bleach at the house. It was Clorox.
No. And I've been trying to tell him that don't bring it in. No name brand bleach.
Yeah, bleach. Clorox was in the water. Tide was washing the clothes. Dawn was washing the dishes. And Bounty was. Come on now. Yeah, Johnson & Johnson was getting paid in my house.
P&G.
Hey.
Keeping them in business.
Of all the trips you've taken abroad to see which country you would be which country would be a good fit, have you decided? or are you still contemplating on which country will be your next or be your final move?
Oh,
So I'll tell you where I stand. And then, because we have joint answers and then we have separate answers.
Okay.
This last trip, I think in part because it's close, it's recent, it was new, but I also think we went to the table with a different set of information. When we first started traveling, we went to Mexico to get our visa. You have in mind some things. I mean, she obviously had more things in mind in preparation than I did. Okay, I said it. Yes, I did. But I go into a space with an open mind. What am I going to see? What am I going to learn? And I loved Mexico. I mean, I still do. I think that I would like to see more parts of Mexico because in the two cities that we visited, they were completely different. And Mexico City is like New York. I mean, Mexico City is listed as the largest city in North America.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's literally boroughs upon boroughs. So we didn't see a tenth of the city. And that's a bit appealing. That's a bit exciting because that means that, hey, there's ways to live the variety of styles of life you like. I liked the time we spent in Puerto Vallarta, but I didn't necessarily like Puerto Vallarta as a living option.
Okay.
So we went into it with that kind of mindset. These last four countries that we visited, it was just like it kept getting better and better and better. I, we spent time with you all in Cuenca, and I mean, I'm like bowled over. I mean,
what is there not to love?
yeah, I mean, it was just like, and I think that a part of that, if all honesty is given, is the interaction that we had with you all. You all, and it wasn't just because we got a chance to hang out. You really helped us do some groundwork. Right after that, we were in Colombia.
I'm sorry.
If the plane hadn't been flying, we
Nobody.
wouldn't have come home. I mean,
I'm trying to keep South America kind of a secret because I'm just like,
it was amazing.
ooh, y'all.
It was just.
I was not ready for South America, and I thought I really loved Central America, but South America, hands down, like all things being equal.
I got you.
I still have very strong desire to spend some time on the mother continent. I have both apprehensions and high expectations about it. That's really going to be a difficult one for me because it is a continent and there's so many countries to explore and so many types of people. And so that one's going to be a little more difficult for me. And that's going to require the time and the research and the going and the doing. Right now, Central and South America are, for the win. I mean, just
Okay.
and narrowing down to where, I don't even know at this point.
I've decided I don't have to.
I mean, it was just
our passport gives us 180 days in many places. We may have to do it a little different, based on the clock that certain countries have. But for me, the reason the reason South America in particular, warm people, just warm interactions with people.
Who look like you.
We're going to have a whole conversation on our channel about that. But yes, being people, culture, cost of living, just so many of not just the check boxes, but the things that my heart needed confirmation on. I was able to experience without seeking them. Many times those experiences found us, even on my sick bed. It found that those experiences found me. And there's something special that makes me want to go back again and again. That those are the places you want to go to, not the places. What I'm recognizing is, yeah, Europe has a lot of the access and a lot of the things that I feel like are on the checklist. Central and South America can't be beat, y'all.
And let's be clear. We're talking about areas and cities that we visited that were as advanced as the Panama City I just mentioned, as advanced as the Mexico City I just mentioned. But there was still, and even in those countries, even in those places, there is a connection to the energy of the earth that I think is lost where we live.
Mhm.
Yes.
And unfortunately, I think the places that are available where we live have been so co-opted that you don't want to go there. I don't want to spend time fighting you for open land.
Right.
And these are spaces that for me, I'm not trying to own. They belong to someone. They are, and it's they are allowing me access into the space in what feels to me to be in its still some of its raw state, some of it.
Mhm.
And we're talking about to be in a city like Medellin, that is a city, and the mountains are hanging in the background like buildings. I mean, it just Cuenca and everything is just running up the side of the hill. And I mean, it just
No. Nestled. I'm
yeah,
sorry, that is the word I keep
yeah,
using. Is
yeah. I mean,
it's just it's like
yeah.
it's like I it's it's just different.
You want to lay up there with the houses, not go in the houses. You want to lay next to the house. And that is lost. We live in what can be considered a small town. That is, when we were here in school, it was devoid of life. I mean, it was
It was
life.
very, very quiet.
It was trees and land and farms. That's it. And daily, and that is not an exaggeration, I watch land disappear.
Subdivisions.
Weekly and monthly, I watch. So when we moved to this house 2 years ago, it was a short, quiet ride for 20 minutes. Now it's a 30+ minute ride because all the traffic in just 2 years that has moved this way. The what was trees on the side of the road yesterday is open mowed down field tomorrow.
Mhm.
It's not that I am so disillusioned that I don't think that that's coming to those areas. It is there. It is coming. It is happening. We saw development while we were in those spaces. But so much of what is the earth was present in a way that you literally got to plow down some mountains to change it. Where here it's flat earth and it's scorched earth. And there's a little city center neighborhood kind of thing where we go to one of the restaurants. And when they built that little space, it was just a couple of little shops. And now it's like you can drive through there and not see the sun because they built a giant. I mean, it's like the most invasively mismatched buildings shoved into the tiniest spaces. And it's just like you moved into this space because it was small and then you turned it into a big space. And I'm recognizing that brings a level of anxiety and stress that I am trying to remove myself from. I still want to be 5 minutes from the store and across the street. And I like that access. I like knowing it. But to be able to also know if I walk 5 minutes that way, there's a park. 5 minutes that way is a river. That's
Those are things that are important. Yep.
that's important.
They are.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah.
And that is a community. That is something they value here. They value being outside. The kids love being outside, playing sports, and everywhere you see, like a lot of the parks have exercise equipment, and they are very adamant about staying healthy.
Yeah. And protecting the land. People have to live somewhere. That's natural, but they try to preserve as much of it as possible, not just ruin it. If there's a river, they're not going to like divert it or anything like that. They're going to go around it. They really do take that stuff seriously.
They do. The community we live in, they cut down some trees, and I'm part of the chat, the WhatsApp group, and they were like, "Okay, you cut down like so many trees. How many of
Mm-hmm.
those were dead? How many are you going to replace?" And then they were like, "Okay, we need to get together and contact whoever was in charge to get this taken care of, because you're just not going to be cutting trees down just nilly willy."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about walkability from Mexico down, and a part of that walkability is not just the high curbs, but it's like trees are still where where they were 100 years ago. They built that
Yeah.
sidewalk around that tree, and that
Yep.
tree is
Exactly.
in that sidewalk up is tearing up that tree owned that spot. And
Yeah.
you either live with it, deal with it, trip over it, but that tree is not moving. And that
Yep.
is a friend of mine. He and his wife had a house that was built in West Palm Beach. He said they cleared the land, built the houses, and came back and planted short trees. He was just like, you clear trees to come and plant trees. I mean, I don't,
Yeah.
Yeah.
when we were in Morocco, we visited a resort, I guess that you could call it.
Oh,
The
Janae Thompson.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and she talks, and as the video I need to finish sharing is she talks about how she built the facility around the trees.
Well,
So
they're in
there
the
are areas,
desert.
so there are areas that the walkway has a covering, and then it's just open because a tree is there. She was like, I didn't move any trees. Anything we did was built around the trees so that we didn't disturb the trees. We didn't disturb the roots. That
Exactly.
that in level of intentionality that doesn't exist here.
No.
That doesn't
No.
exist here. So you got alligators in pools and snakes in the backyard and bears on the porch, and
Right.
because we
Invading their
Yeah. And
habitat.
didn't leave them anywhere to go.
right.
Yeah. So question, if you were able to remove, these three things, money, family, friends from the equation, right? What would be your biggest anxiety about living abroad?
Mm.
So you're not worried about money, you're not worried about family, not worried about friends. What would be the thing that might give you some anxiety?
Good one.
Yeah. Adjusting to a new language and culture.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This trip to Central and South America made me say, girl, get them language skills. Because what I recognized is even with vocabulary skills, my cognitive comprehension skills, my listening skills were very poor.
Mm-hmm.
And so literally it was like deer in headlights about everything. And so I couldn't, my desire is to be able to communicate at a minimum with activities of daily living. And I was like, I will not be caught unaware. Not having language skills means, because of my health issues, as you all saw, when I can't ask the pharmacist or let the pharmacist know I'm allergic to penicillin without assistance,
Right.
those have real life consequences.
Exactly.
And dependence on Google Translate is insufficient in an emergency. Okay.
Exactly.
To me. And so, and then just being, friends of ours that have moved abroad, have been abroad for a little while, talk about how language specifically is draining when you're
Oh,
trying to, you've got your English brain and your Spanish brain. And she was just like, and then you're on all day. And it's like I'm at home as a refuge, or I hide at home because I need a part of me to not have to do that back and forth translation that you have to do, and that can be anxiety inducing
Mm-hmm.
um,
Yes.
to someone. And so I said, okay, that's it. So we've been watching. Let's see. So we found a couple of YouTube channels. We have reached out to several contacts and found tutors to work with us in one-on-one. Like, my Spanish is going to be spoken. I'll just say it that way. More Spanish will be spoken here by me. That is my commitment before leaving. And that is because
I understand.
I planned a trip. I didn't effort into the language prep as much as I did for making sure we had all the plane tickets and, somebody to pick us up from the airport and, all the luggage and all of that, those logistical things. It is Language is a priority and would worry me. It would be a work is at the forefront of what I know I need to work on before I step out.
And visiting 4 countries put us on notice because the misconception is that Spanish is Spanish, and that is so not true. And so we went to 4 countries that said all the same things that may not have been telling me the same thing. And Spain is a whole different anomaly in and of itself. And and I felt deficient. I felt insufficient. And it was embarrassing because it was like, okay, I'm trying some simple things and some simple phrases, and they looking at me like, dude, what? And I mean, it's just like, if it were not for what I consider the cordiality, kindness, and consideration of the peoples that we came in contact with, I would have got on a plane and come home. Because using what you said about emergency, it's one thing to kind of be fumbling through and, we're just trying to get some pizza. It's a whole nother thing when things,
When you went to get my medicine,
I mean, I'm attempting to feel dismissed, for lack of a better word, because I'm failing to meet what I consider to be a minimum requirement, and I would assume everybody else does also. And I'm not a person who's demanding you speak English to me. I recognize this is not my space, and to have people be irritated,
Yeah.
and unlike our current group of people, I'm not offended by that. Because again, that's not their responsibility, it's mine.
mm-hmm.
But it does not promote confidence. I'm out on the street by myself without my wife, trying to find her medication, talking to someone who's pretty much what visually felt like them saying, "Get the hell on," and that is, what do you do with that?
Yeah.
I'm geographically challenged. I'm trying to remember how I walked up here,
Right.
and you're adding stress and trauma to my life, and I would now be lost because now I realize if I can't talk to you, if I get lost, I can't get back to where I just came from.
Right.
Those, I mean, and in the words of Cedric the Entertainer, I'm a grown ass man, and
Right.
and that brings a little bit of insecurity.
Yeah.
And so that is, I would agree with you. That probably is the biggest anxiety inducer of all, because it is the pathway to connection. Without that piece, you can wave all the money you want. You can
Right.
wave all the money you want. You can wave all the credit cards you want. If they don't understand or don't care to understand, and you don't understand,
Well, the
you're
thing is,
accomplishing nothing.
they'll take the money, whether they understand or not. But I totally understand what you're saying, Dee. I mean, being here almost 3 years, we've learned. I know more Spanish, but comprehending the language is harder for me. It's easier for him. Now I can tell him what to say because I study a lot, but like you said, in an emergency situation, that gives me anxiety
Yeah.
because I cannot be fumbling when there's an emergency. I need you to understand, and I will only get frustrated with myself because
Correct.
I don't know what to say. And I know they will be helpful, but it's not, like you said, it's not their responsibility, it's
Mm-hmm.
mine
Mm-hmm.
to be able to be fluent so that if something does happen, I am confident that I know what I'm saying
Yeah.
and I understand. And that's why I am very adamant about trying to learn, and I know he's not.
No, it's not that I don't
We're
want to
not in the
learn.
same we're not in
No,
the same
don't try to put me
we're
in.
not in the same level of wanting to
I'm
understand.
not a studier. Like that's just I'm not a studier. Like I'm willing to learn. I'm just not a studier.
Well, let me say this: when people, and I'm saying this, and we're not cutting this out. When people want to better themselves, there are things you have to make sacrifice. Whether you don't like doing something, you start to learn to do something because you know, like we said, if an emergency happens,
Mhm.
I need you to be able to explain, and so do I.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
I know we're on
Well, this is why we're going to be doing
different
some
playing
lessons.
level.
We're going to be doing some lessons. So
Yeah.
I
I'm,
No, no,
will.
no, no,
I'm
no.
I
afraid that the
what
trauma is
what
going to make it harder.
well, and what I have had to accept is that I need exposure.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Yeah.
am listening to different styles of Spanish. There's great podcasts that's all they do. They do stories, they do. I also learned in trying a lot of these platforms that I need to hear it and see it at the same time.
Yeah.
And then there's only so far that you can go with these one dimensional
Hmm.
education or exposure.
Right.
I need to be in some experiences that require me
Speak it.
to speak it. And I think I need a level of relevance for the information that I'm getting
Hmm.
that helps it to make practical sense to me. And so I feel like I can start and then I need to be in an environment pretty within 6 months. And that fits 6, 8 months, which fits our timeline
Mm-hmm.
for being in country and then being able to transform that within the local dialect that we will be in to begin.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it is much better to learn. It is much better if like just Spanish, for example. It's much better to learn Spanish from people that are in the country that you're going to be living in, because it's the same as like English. If yeah, Americans speak English, Australians speak English, British people speak English, but all of our accents are different, and there are words, similar words that mean something totally different in each of those countries. So
Mm-hmm.
technically, yes, we can communicate with each other. But if you start talking fast and start speaking your normal, your normal like slangs and everything, then it starts to get lost. And that's the same way like in Latin America. The Spanish that people speak here in the mountains is different than the Spanish they speak on the coast. It,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so there's different dialects. They sound different to each other. To us,
Even
they sound the same.
right.
Right. Right.
Even
Right.
White Hill language, Spanish is different from the coast, and the coast is different from Cuenca.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's
And,
just certain words like they're just different.
It's just
and
different.
you take it for granted. I've listened to British people say, "Oh, you must be from," and I'm like, "How do you know? You all sound the same to me." I mean,
Right.
but 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 when we teach English online, and we have a lot of students from Asia, and they'll be like, okay, I have customers and clients that I deal with that are from Britain, and they're from Australia, they're from France, and they're like, and I don't understand, and they got these phrases that they've given them in their books, and I say to them,
No
Nobody
one
says
talks
that.
like
Nobody
that.
talks like that. And I have to remember, I need to say to them, nobody in America talks like that.
Yeah.
Because they may talk like that in Australia. They may talk like that in Bristol. But they don't. Nobody in Georgia is talking like, nobody's saying that. And and they're confused because they were like, okay, but then what do you say? And I was like, see these 2 words? That's it. Not those 8 words you just read to me. Because nobody's talking like that,
Yeah.
And it's not that it won't be understood. It's just that's
The
not
reference is
right.
not a match.
And taking that into account when you're dealing with learning as well. You need to take a break?
No.
Okay. So, So language, I agree, is the biggest challenge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So the big question is, have you started decluttering?
Yes. Okay.
Define decluttering.
Look, no. As a matter of fact, no, I take that back. No, we're not decluttering. We're emptying the house.
Okay.
So you're donating, you're giving things away, are you using Facebook Marketplace to put things up for sale?
We're supposed to. So I've got several shelves. I am giving myself a time limit. So it's February 1st. Mm-hmm. I'm like, if this stuff is not listed, everything that we want to sell needs to be listed by the end of the week. Because we want it to be sold by the beginning of March, because the house needs to be mostly clear. All closets, all bedrooms that we're not living in need to be completely clear, and then the rooms that we're in need to be minimal things.
One of the things I think is a benefit, and I was thinking about this. Prior to us having the move abroad conversation, we were talking about tiny house. We were talking about van living. We were talking about RVing. And when we moved from the rental home we were in to this house that we've built, we were like, we don't want all this stuff, jamming in. And we put in a lot of effort and still brought quite a bit of stuff. Mm-hmm. And in light, it's not a lot of stuff, but it was some of the more, this is important because kind of things. Mm-hmm. And so now we're in that, what we would have assumed was more of emotional space dealing with this or that, and can this go? And what we're doing is we're allowing ourselves some grace. So there's some things it's just like
grace with a timeline.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, these things can go. Let's just talk through it. Can we negotiate whether or not this can go, and then quickly move it out the door? Because if it sits too long, it's gonna find itself on the shelf. We're gonna come in and it walked up on the shelf by itself. If it's in debate, then we've given ourselves space to step away from it, because as much as we want to deal with some emotional things, we also don't want to deal with some things emotionally, mm-hmm. and then be pained or regretted because it left and we didn't think through a way to, utilize it. And so I think we're being intentional. Mm-hmm. And that's, we still have the mindset of, what if we're downsizing to a smaller space? Every space that we've stayed in, except from 1 or 2 throughout this 2.5 years of travel, have been spaces where 90% of this stuff couldn't go anyway. Yeah. And
so it doesn't even fit the life we're moving into.
Correct.
And it doesn't make sense
to pay money to leave it here.
Right.
And we don't have children who are going to hold on to it. We're trying to get them to come get their stuff. So they're definitely not going to take ours. And that makes a whole factor of dealing with it.
And I think there's a part of me that accepts, if the goal is to get out the door. If I have to get a small storage area, I want to get rid of as much stuff as I can, because technically I don't want to have to pay for it.
Mhm.
And then, but I'm also not going to get hung up with, but I'm not ready to get rid of it, or it didn't, that all of that. A lot of it, I'm saying, just do what you need to do, and as much of it as you can. The rest of it, it'll be just a part of I'll call it the stupid tax of you weren't ready to move abroad, but you didn't bought them tickets.
Yeah.
So
would we remember this if we sold it? Would we remember this if we gave it away? And those things have a little more consideration.
Yeah.
Some things it's like, I didn't remember it was here in the first place.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's not been used, and I mean, there are some things that haven't been used because they are very special memorabilia.
Mm-hmm.
And so they don't sit out on the counter because then they'd be destroyed. And so they are in a put away kind of place. And we try to be intentional about engaging use of those things. And there are some things that's just like, how long have we had this? Where did this come from? Okay, those get easy. There's no, it's okay. My closet is empty anyway, so emptying it some more. It's just like I don't own any clothes. I got 2 shirts and 1 pair of pants. So hey, it is what it is, and we're doing as much of it as possible together. That
is very important to me. I did not know I needed a little emotional support. I didn't realize I was feeling isolated in the process. Like I'm in the garage by myself, cleaning, going through my dad's stuff. It's very emotional for me. And I was just like, I don't want to do this by myself. So we plan time every day after work that we're going to spend an hour or 2 cleaning a closet together, going through family photos. That's our goal for this week. Or, taking pictures and listing things on the various websites together, because this could be a sore spot. That if I'm doing it alone, then I'm mad because I'm doing this by myself. Or that I feel that I'm doing it alone.
And the important part for me of that is the plan to do it at a certain time. There are couples who D is home. I'm not home. So, it's real for her because she's looking at it all day. And so she's thinking about it all day. She's planning it all day. I'm just trying to get back to the house. And it can be easy to be in different places in the process simply because of that. And so I committed to, this is what I can do when I come home.
Mm-hmm.
Give me this time to eat, give me this time to, whatever. And then from this time to this time, we can commit to that. It has to start then and it has to end then.
Correct.
Or otherwise we do it tomorrow. Right. Because if we start later, we end later. Or we do less. And if we do less, then we're thinking about all the things we should have done. It's just like either we're doing it or we're not doing it. And those parameters create a unity about it for the both of us, I think, that makes the process.
It's made me very happy, and we've gotten more done this year than we've gotten done in the 2 prior years.
Agreed.
I'm talking about, when I say this year, I'm talking about in 2025. Correct. It's only February. We've made a whole lot more progress. Correct. After this trip. I think also motivated. We are so much more motivated after this last trip.
If we don't do nothing but come and take that extra room you got, we getting out of here.
Hey, I told you when you were here, I said when you get back to the States, it's gonna be real. And then things are going to come at you that you're not gonna want to deal with anymore. You're just like, I'm over it. What can we do to make this process move a little faster? Because your mind, you get like you said, motivated and determined that I'm ready. Mm-hmm. You find that you're more ready after you come back from somewhere and where you don't want to be anymore. You make things happen.
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah.
Well, the whole landscape of what's going on here.
Oh,
It's
that's
been,
also very motivating.
yeah,
I
yeah.
can imagine. I can imagine.
I do want to ask you another question for the culture.
Okay.
All right. On the show, Martin,
Yes.
there was one episode where Martin wakes up early, middle of the night. He's having a bad dream. He walks into his living room. Bruh man is in the kitchen. What was Bruh man doing in the kitchen?
Wasn't he eating making a sandwich, eating a
Yes,
sandwich? Or
yes, D. Yes.
please tell me you knew that.
All
And
Listen, he was always making a sandwich. All I know, he's from the fifth floor, so that's all I know.
He's on the fifth floor.
The fifth floor.
He was making a sandwich. Exactly.
I haven't seen Martin in
no,
over.
what do you say? Some sandwiches.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so the last thing we want to touch on.
So, D, I know you had a difficult time adjusting to the altitude in Cuenca. Has that impacted your decision about Cuenca as a whole?
Or places with altitude.
Altitude.
Okay. Let's see. Quito and Bogota are off the table. Those are high elevation. One of the things that with having a great doctor like I had while I was there, he prescribed enough of the altitude sickness medication and gave both of us a strategy on how to take it before going back. And that brought me a lot of peace. Let's see. So I guess we should tell them the whole strategy. So because we will be coming back to Cuenca, we have decided that we will always fly from Guayaquil into Cuenca. We'll always. It's just
Yes, no more over the mountain. We saw it. If we didn't
One
see it,
time.
That's all you needed.
yeah.
it was good for us. It's because of my sensitivity to altitude adjustment. I think that would make a huge difference. I was kind of getting sick before getting there, but I think because I also have respiratory issues, it just was like the perfect storm. And then some other health issues that impact my blood oxygenation, blah, blah, blah. So I think how we travel to the city, taking the medication beforehand. In the groups, there was a lot of support. I didn't ask an altitude question, but I went back in the expat groups to see what people were saying. And people offered some additional support. And I was like, okay, I can do that. I could do that. But the other piece that I think a lot of people, or that I have decided to center more, is that I want to improve my health before coming back. And so what I started looking up was that there are breathing exercises to help with my lung capacity. As someone with asthma, I'm always fighting that. Swimming was really good when I was younger to help with my asthma. I think that was a part of the reason why I outgrew it when I was younger. And so a lot of the other the underlying health issues that I think impacted my altitude sickness may not be able to be decreased, but there are plenty of things that I can do to increase it. So I'm walking / jogging more. I mean, there's just a lot of health and nutrition based things that I can do to give me the best chance to have a good experience in Cuenca. And in spite of not feeling well, the thing that I feel like the poster child for you are drinking water is satisfying your thirst. Hydrating is the next level you really need to be integrating. So whether it's Celtic salt, pink Himalayan sea salt, adding some of that or the hydration. I'm looking at the hydration packets that we bought when we got back because we've integrated that into our everyday living so that it is a habit that we will continue because hydration, even before taking the altitude medication, made a big difference in my overall feeling better. And so I think those strategies will be helpful when we return to Cuenca.
Knowledge,
And he suggested stuff for you too.
yeah, knowledge and preparation changed the game. There's a reason Gatorade has been famous since what, the 70s,
60s and 70s, yeah.
60s, 70s, created for some football players, and because they weren't trying to provide them thirst quench, they were providing them hydration, and
Yeah, electrolytes.
that message is often lost. That those are connected things, but they're two different goals. And you don't know that changing where you are affects, you anybody paying attention knows, oh, I went from cool to hot, so I need to drink water. You don't think low to high. You take that for granted. Most people don't understand what's happening in the plane when they pressurize the plane, what they're doing for you in that area. That little spigot is not an air conditioned vent. They're pumping, moisture into the air. Those things. When you don't know those things, you don't plan and prepare for those things. Cuenca is too beautiful to miss.
Yes.
I don't know how, but we're going to Bogota. Okay, we may not be able to hang out, but we're going because it's got to be too beautiful to miss.
Mm.
Whatever's down in the deepest valley somewhere in the world, I'm going there too because it's got to be too beautiful to miss. And so it means that the beauty of the experience was that it taught me to. We were prepared for the fact that there was going to be elevation. Oh, you might get sick and you need to drink water. Okay, we knew that, the simplicity of that. Now we're looking at, okay, when we're going to be in Arizona, when we're going to be in Peru, if we're going to be in, the Arctic, what needs to happen? What do I need to be eating? How do I need to be drinking? How do I need to be sleeping? What kinds of whatever? There's a different
body preparation,
right?
For my age,
right?
I'm
for age, for size, for health background, for gender. There are things that you have to prepare for, and it doesn't have to be cumbersome. Don't misunderstand. That can sound like a task, and it gives more people reason to not. No, first of all, it ought to alert you that you need to be in better health. Period. That you need to, there are many people who have survived traumatic experiences because they were healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And there are people who have not come out of less traumatic experiences simply because they weren't healthy enough. Mm-hmm. And a preparation of mind, body, and spirit, and I mean, you're talking about a place that is lush with green. The sky is like right there. I mean, it's just, the rain didn't bother me. Yeah. I wasn't upset because it was raining. I mean, I wasn't upset because it was cool and it was wet and it was raining. The earth was doing what it needed to do. And you could feel it. You could sense it. You could absorb it. I mean, and those things require, in my mind, an adjustment. We're going to make the adjustment.
Yep.
Exactly. And be willing to adjust because, like you said, we moved from Salinas in from May to October, because November starts to get sunny. During that whole time, was it 2022?
The year we got there, 2022 was really
Yeah,
cloudy.
it was really cloudy. and it affected me personally because I felt like I was becoming depressed. It wasn't rainy; it was just an overcast a lot of days. And so when we took our trip,
Took a trip to Bali.
to Indonesia, I felt better because I needed some sun.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you need that. And so being in Quaker, having that, whatever they want to call it, 3 seasons in a day, or 3 climates in a day, it helps me because it'll start off some days cloudy. By 10:30, sun is bright. 1:30 or 2 o'clock, here comes some clouds.
Right.
We may have some rain.
You might be the other way around.
However, but it's not at a point where I feel depressed.
Yeah.
And like you said, we needed the rain because they have been going through a drought for so long. I welcome it. I welcome it. I don't need to get wet because whatever it is, when I get wet, I get a cold. I don't know what's up with that. But you get a little sprinkle, like, oh, here we go. But when I feel like it's a balance for nature. It needs the photosynthesis.
Yeah, plants need some sun. They need a little rain, and we get all of that. So like the last few weeks, last couple weeks, really, it hasn't rained not nearly as much.
It's kind of tapered off.
Yeah, it's been sunny most days, and it's cloudy a couple days, but it's just that perfect balance of you get everything in a day, and it feels like you're kind of closer to nature, to what is supposed to happen.
Yeah, I feel grounded being here, and I feel I don't know a fullness, but a fullness of gratitude, and I don't know, it's a good thing.
Yeah, if there was something missing from living on the coast, it was this. It was like that feeling of like just completeness of like nature and environment, people. Like Salinas had almost all those things. It's just that like there were 2 extremes when it came to season. One half of the year it was sunny and hot. Other half of the year it's cool and cloudy. And to deal with that like straight through can be a bit much for some people. Like, it was for her.
For me.
And then, it may not be cloudy every single day, but for the most part, it gets dreary. But here it's like you get that complete.
And then to see the trees, the grass go from it was kind of green, but now it's like a
lush.
Green.
Yeah, it's different.
And you see the flowers blooming.
The hummingbirds everywhere, like the ones that keep visiting our little lemon tree outside.
The butterflies, the parrots, just nature in itself, and it feels wonderful.
Yeah.
It was something I needed for me.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. I think that in this conversation that we've been having with this community on our channel is find the space that speaks to you. Exactly. There are people who like, gray England and cloudy Washington and Seattle and knock yourselves out. There are people who love the desert heat and if that's your thing, do your thing. Yeah. Make sure it's authentic to you. I grew up with humidity. No, thank you. But at the same time, I like sunshine. She'll tell you if the sun is shining, I'm like, something is happening outside. I need to be. I've said that if I'm sick, sit me in a window. Open the window. Man, my country self is better soon. I spent the whole day at work with COVID, and the sun was shining, and I was great. Came home, and it was gray in the house, and the sickness, and I didn't know I was sick all day because I was in the fresh air. I was in the sun. I mean, I was alone, but I mean, it was just I was just, and I came back, and as the day descended, and that tells me how to prepare for what I'm looking for in a space.
I don't have a seasonal affective disorder diagnosis, but it gets very cloudy here. We're in a valley where we live, and especially coming into January, it's like just days and days, and I'm talking to like 8 and 9 day stretches of heavy overcast sky. And by January, it's starting, I can start to feel a mood shift. By April, I'm either in the throes of depression, anxiety, like it really impacts me. So this year, I worked with my doctor to start. Most people, especially Black people, are vitamin D deficient. And so before I left, they started me on 10 weeks of the vitamin D. And I was outside. So the amount of sun has helped me to survive these 3 weeks that I've been back because of the intentional engagement with the sun and nutritional supplements that help me to be better. But I'm like, what if I was in a place where I didn't ever have to be concerned about vitamin D deficiency? I wanted to be outside. The air was fresh, that the weather allowed me to not be overheated or cold, where I could spend a significant amount of time in a garden, walking, just being outside. Those are the features of the kind of living that I'm looking for, that it's more than just I want to be in a sunny place. It impacts my mood, my feelings of well-being, and my overall quality of life. The pieces that we've put together are really intentional about where we want to be, the amount of time we spend in those places. And there's something. I put my feet on the ground. I'll send you the video of me standing at the market saying, what is happening here? There's something literally in the air. It's coming up from the ground in.
And it was gray
spiritually in me. It was just, I was like, what is this? Like pixie dust. I don't know. Something was happening. Like I said, Ecuador checked so many boxes. That was completely unexpected.
Right.
That was completely unexpected.
We visited knowing it was, a Cuenca was on the high list. It hit differently than I think we expected. It is in the top 5.
Okay.
I was gonna say 3, but I'm saying top 5, but it definitely in the W. Yeah, because I don't think I think anything is manageable with preparation and planning. Yeah.
And it's like you say, you have a passport, and the requirements, the visa requirements in Cuenca, Medellin, and you already have your residency in Mexico. You can just do however, and like you say, more in Africa, because we have thought about that. I just don't, that flight, I don't know about the flight. I want to go there. Trust me. We were Nairobi, Ghana, just different parts. But I can't wrap my head around that flight.
Because when she took that flight we've taken 2 really long flights together. It was like Dubai and Bali.
I was about to say, y'all did Bali.
She could do it, but yeah, I don't.
What we decided is when we do those long trips, we'd have to break it up. I'm gonna spend some time on the ground,
and we're gonna spend money on it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give me the good seats.
Yeah. I need to recline. I don't need 3 people over here and 3 people over. No, I need my own
Yeah.
little space.
Yeah, and we learned from our flight to Morocco to evaluate airlines and their airplanes differently.
Mm-hmm.
The airline we flew provided, I thought, good customer service. I thought the food was interesting. It wasn't the best, but it was interesting. It I tried some things because I paid for it, but they gave me a seat that when I leaned back, my knees went forward, which means when they leaned back, my
They're
knees
on.
they were in my knees, which made
Right.
10-hour flight less comfortable than it could have been. But I also couldn't pay for those big seats up front. So
Right.
if I'm planning for a sizable trip, then I'm like Dee said. First of all, part of that we seeing some places along the way because I'm not getting on a 24-hour flight. I just my narrow backside can't take it,
Right.
and I'm going to pay to be in a seat that gives me some big boy
Yeah.
room. So we have to be intentional about it, and I mean, so until then, they say I stay where I'm wanted.
We'd like to thank y'all once again. There was another question I was going to ask, but that's a whole nother conversation. We might have to get together one of these days and have one of the discussions that me and LaShawn have on her channel.
Oh my
Um,
You might as well bring it. You done already talked it up. Now.
well, okay. The question I was going to ask is, and this is the question like LaShawn posed to me on her channel, was should you, as a couple, individually hang out with your single friend?
Hmm.
God. Okay, hold on. Let's clarify. Because
Okay.
Clarify, hang out.
well, you
Yes.
can hang out with your friend. You can go to the mall. That's different. But when you're hanging out with your friend, you're going to the club, or you're going to the strip club, or
On a trip.
you're going on a trip. Let's say it's 4 hours away. They're going to Vegas. You know what I'm saying? You're going to Vegas and you're spending maybe maybe a weekend or a few days in Vegas. Is it okay for this married man to be hanging out with a single guy that you know should be trusted?
You're singling.
It's
Yeah. See. Okay. So I will answer that as a man.
okay.
I tend to avoid that, and that's not a distrust of myself as much as I don't. I try to reduce as many things as possible that bring questionable anxiety to the person I care about. Or worse, I'm limiting the time I spend with the people or person I made this whole trip with because they're doing whatever. I was like, I could have come by myself. I just it's counterproductive to me. Um, for me, if a person is trustworthy, I'm not going on this trip with if they has trust issues in terms of in general. I'm
Right.
probably not going to be on this trip anyway. Uh, I mean, I got some married people I wouldn't travel with. I mean, and that's just because people do what they do. And and that's not a judgment on my part. That's just
Your preference.
I don't see the purpose of opening spaces. We've had conversations before with groups where we talked about men traveling together, and a lot of times men are like, even as married men, we go places and we get questioned, and nobody wants to have to be trying to explain why we're hanging out. This is a trip we deserve to enjoy, but we're being questioned by people who want to be questionable with us, but they're trying to make it look like we're the bad people. And it's like nobody wants to deal with that, and it creates a lack of enjoyment. It's something that I think as we as married men, especially black men, we had to be like, the hell with y'all, we're gonna do this because this is important, and we go do it, and we have to support each other and enjoy the time and brush it off. But it's like, you got 5 black guys walking down the street. Somebody is going to stop them and saying, what y'all up to? We're walking down the street. And so we stop walking down the street because you get tired of being questioned. And
Right.
it's that same kind of mentality.
I
Women, on the other
I
hand, I
was
don't
gonna
think have that
say,
problem.
well, okay, so if my single friends are doing single things, I'm gonna be the wet blanket to their process. Because I am a married woman and I conduct my life as a married woman that says not when I don't I'm not I'm not operating in one way when I'm with you and a different way when I'm not. And so would I not go on a trip with single women? I'm going on a trip with single women. I am. If they are doing things that do not align with my values, I'm not doing those things with my single friends. And so part of it for me is knowing who the people are that I'm going to hang with. And it's not fair for them to not have joy. And my dollars and cents matter to me, and I want to enjoy myself too. And so, I think I've been intentional about, what do you call that? The friendship connections and the associate connections. And the folks that I would choose to travel with, the way we view life, the way that we are in our marriage. I'm really trying to not use judgmental terms. The way we are in our marriage is similar, our approach to life, so that I think I would feel comfortable in the things that they suggest that we do, because we are in a normal situation going to operate in a similar way. Because a trip, I'm going to have some fun. I'm going to enjoy myself. And I don't want to participate in something that, look, y'all, the world has a weird way. These cell phones and pictures and images and videos. I was in a solo women's travel group, and I was like, did y'all not learn anything from the Freaknik videos that came out? You were single. You were in Atlanta. You were doing your thing in Atlanta. You now deaconess, assistant pastor, and your congregation now see what you did on break during college. I just
and regardless of whether or not that casting judgment is fair, it's not fair.
no.
Okay, it's not fair. But is it real? It's realistic. If I'm not going to go on a trip with a bunch of single women, I'm definitely not going on a trip with a bunch of single men.
Right.
What's the difference? I mean, it's just I'm that door. And again, even if I trust these brothers, now if it's a mixed group, then we do what it do. It's a bunch of guys, and some of us married. If the single guys want to do their thing, do your thing.
Right.
Me, as the married guy, going with some single dudes no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that because there will be no questions.
I think we gave the exact same answer.
Yeah, you did.
I'm enough of my own headache without having some other people be my headache too. Yeah, no. Mm-mm.
I mean, well, for me, I don't have a lot of single friends, but if I had single friends, and depending on what they do, and if I know they're going to want to be out there club or bar hopping, that ain't for me. That's not what I do. So there's no need for me to go there. If it's a mix, and I know there's going to be some shopping, we're going to, eat or whatever. Oh, I'm all for it. But we did say,
Y'all ain't going to Jamaica.
I wouldn't go to Jamaica without him. If they have a
You
problem,
ain't Stella.
stop. If they have a problem, yeah, if I'm going to Jamaica, I'm not married anyway. And I'm going to get my groove back.
My name is Stella, and I'm going to get my groove back.
But that's not the case. So I wouldn't want to go to another country, even if I was going with my friends, without him. I just don't want to be that far. And if my friends don't understand that, then we won't go.
If they say your husband ain't allowed, you ain't
There
going
is
either.
no one telling me he's not allowed, then I'm not allowed. Because we're one.
And you know, I've she's on her way to a trip this spring to the island.
You welcome to come, LaShawn.
I, I'm not. I, there's not. Hey, I'm because I don't have. First of all, I don't have trust issues, and I'm also the guy that says if you find something else somewhere else to be, then you chose to be somewhere else. And me stressing out about what you are and are not doing, I don't have the emotional capacity for that.
Right.
I have trust in who she is as a person. Knock yourself out, enjoy your trip. I've known her 30 years. If there's something happening here, if there's some freaknik happening here I don't know about, then I missed it and I deserve to miss it. You know, so I'm not worried about that. And and the girls' only trips don't bother me either. Now, because I believe she is a discerner of goodwill, of good intentions, and she is going to be comfortable or uncomfortable with whatever dynamics and scenarios. I'm going to leave it to that. I believe the same trust is afforded me. I make choices to do or not do because I don't need anybody else questioning me or her about me. And that I have to find a way to do it and still enjoy life because other people limiting my ability to engage the world and build reasonable social friendships and engagement. I take Big Steve and a couple of the fellas, we go on a trip as long as their wives are okay with it. And if their wives not okay, they need to stay home.
I'm
Okay.
okay with it. I just don't feel comfortable being that far from him because I know he's going to worry about my safety.
I'm not worried about what she's doing. I'm worried about what might happen.
Yeah.
Agreed. I'm more worried about the safety issue, but we've been together long enough that I've said my piece. And my assumption is just like with my children that you have the mindset and because if she calls me and says we were early in marriage and she went to New York, okay, my mother's from New York, so I know New York. She never been to New York. This was after 9/11. And she doesn't know that New York city blocks are not the same as country Birmingham city blocks. A city block in Birmingham is a block. A city block in New York is 3 days. So, you know, she says she's 12 blocks away from where she stays. She don't know she's 5 miles away. You know, I mean, in the middle of the night. And
with no cell phone.
With no cell phone. Okay. But I also know that's not going to happen again. Not because I fussed about it. She evaluated that situation. You know what I'm saying? Because she easily could have hid that from me and said I was downstairs at the bar and I sat all night watching the game and I forgot my phone. She could have told me whatever she wanted. We talked about it. We addressed it. We looked at it for what it was. Life moves on. My son, we left him in LA for an internship at 19. 4th of July, he wanted to go to San Francisco to watch the fireworks over the Golden Gate Bridge. Please go, do. But when you go, you need to have these things in mind. He did not do those things. So at the end of the fireworks, in the middle of the night, he found himself on a lonely street
2 a.m. calls
by
us.
himself, not able to get an Uber because he didn't do what I asked him to do. I'm a country away. I can't do a doggone thing for you. Okay? Here's the information you need. Here's what you need to try to do. You know what I'm saying? And I'm terrified. But at the same time, making him terrified ain't gonna help. So she goes on the trip. She's a grown woman. She was grown when I met her. So I mean, enjoy.
Yeah.
And I have to learn to build in for myself trips that make me feel confident that they don't bring anxiety or stress or worry.
Yeah. My only apprehension would be like if it was just her and a group of single women.
It would be.
That
I wouldn't
I
mind.
know you wouldn't. I'm just saying like from my end, I would be like, that don't sound right. You know, like
Well, it can sound right, but then
uh,
like I told
I know them
you,
women. They
I,
wild.
it's like
You know, I wouldn't travel with some folks that had, where I had a question that they
exactly.
don't go sideways.
And that
Now, I mean, you know, the
there are people who will
will
surprise
do.
you,
Yeah.
but again, there's no trust issue here because I know you're gonna be like be like, why are you in the room? Because them Negroes,
Exactly.
and I'm be like, all
Exactly.
right, I got it, cool. Hey, we talk on the phone. I'm watching it. We want to watch it too. I mean, and I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
and you have to have that level of trust and engagement. The solo travel conversation that we have on our channel, I think is valid. Because it brings up those questions. It
Right.
brings up those trust issues. And I think at the core, it's not the trip, it's the trust.
Hmm.
What is your trust factor in your house? If you are afraid that your spouse, him or her, them or those, are going to go on over there when they get a free time.
I got a friend right now. Right now, she has a no overnight policy for herself and for her spouse that they agreed to because the guy she had previously been married to, there was a question mark.
Hmm.
And so from that point forward, she has said, I don't go nowhere. So like the group of us have been friends since we were literally, her grandmother kept she and I when we were 2 years old. We've been friends for 50 years. We say we're going to go get a chalet. It's going to be the five of us. And she was like, I have a no overnight rule. Girl, we grown.
But if that's what works in your
But
house,
then you keep the peace at your house.
Exactly.
no judgment here.
None.
No
No.
judgment here. On the other hand, y'all believe in, whatever. Girl told me the other day, she told her husband, do you, because I'm going to do me. Wow.
Well, I don't
Okay.
know about that.
And I was
I
like,
don't know about that. No,
wow.
that's not happening here.
Yeah, I was like, wow. That's all you can say is, wow. Okay. I mean, look, that works for Will and Jada, right? Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I mean,
Does it?
Is it?
I, we don't know
I'm
what that is.
I'm gonna say your team.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
Ooh.
We're not doing that here.
Well, listen. We have held them up long enough this evening.
Good people.
We really always appreciate talking to y'all. You know, we've had conversations offline for this long.
Which is great.
You know, for anyone watching, you know, like, this isn't unusual for us.
The other side, the other
It, and those other conversations get a little more, a little more, not as professional.
We all grown here.
But yeah, we always love having y'all on. Whenever you or y'all want us to come and do something with y'all, that's no problem at all. We can't wait to see y'all again.
Yes. And we're
Anyone,
looking forward to
whatever
whenever.
decision y'all make, we're gonna come visit, whatever it is.
No doubt. No
Make
doubt.
sure if y'all are watching this to go and visit H&D's YouTube channel, H&D Abroad. Subscribe, like all the videos, just play them in order. Um, whatever you got to do to support. We want to support each other. We want to build a network and,
Yes. And great community.
yeah, great community and try to help each other out as much as possible. So, of course,
We-
once again,
We really appreciate you all being here. I need to say publicly how much we appreciate the time you all invested in us when we were there in Cuenca. To those of you all who are listening, if you're visiting Cuenca, I'm not telling y'all to load up and bug them at their house, but they are the resource mavens. You all really need to get with them because and the information that you all are providing in your channel has helped us a lot. You helped prepare us, and even then, we learned so much more just from the time we spent with you. We have much love and appreciation for that time. We thank you.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Totally
We
our
definitely
pleasure.
enjoyed you all, we don't get visitors, so we were enjoying that time, and it was awesome. And hopefully, when you come back, we can take that tour up to Turi, so you
Yes.
can see
The whole city.
the whole city,
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
then try some new restaurants.
absolutely.
Oh.
Well, we're gonna test some of them out before you get back. Let you know
Please,
if
because
it's
y'all were 10 for 10.
No, yeah. I said we keep guessing together. I enjoyed that.
hey, that worked too.
All right. Well, once again, y'all, thanks. Like, share, subscribe to the video, and tune in for more. We'll be back soon.